Hello, everyone. I hope that after we've now finished the first unit of the course, that everybody's on board. It seems like everyone has adapted to what is essentially a new course and what the requirements are and what the schedule is and everything like that. At the unit one is really just a basic introduction to Kantian and utilitarian decision-making frameworks. So we have a basis upon which to begin to evaluate particular ethical issues involving information technology or computer ethics. So your assignment for your weekly assignment for the first unit, or your assignment for the first unit, was a quiz. It's a non-graded quiz, but you did need to take it on Kant and utilitarianism. And although it was a non-graded quiz, it is important that you get the basics of it so that you can do the rest of the course. So I'd just like to go over the answers for this quiz. Number one, which is a true or false, Kantianism is a form of consequentialism. That is false. Consequentialism is the idea that the moral worth of an action depends upon its consequences, its results, its effects. Kant couldn't have disagreed with that more. It's not about that. Kant's general idea was that the moral worth of an action is determined by the intent behind it. And that intent is got to be a goodwill. And the categorical imperatives give you a sense of what the characteristics of a goodwill is, or what the characteristics of a goodwill are, or give you a notion of when you'll be violating the notion of a goodwill. So it's not a form of consequentialism, Kantianism. Question two, also true or false. The basis of the second categorical imperative is that a person has intrinsic worth. That is true. Second categorical imperative says never treat a person as a means merely to one of your ends, but always treat them as an end in themselves. And this basically is a result, or is based upon, Kant's assertion that the person, the rational creature, has an intrinsic worth as opposed to everything else in the world, which has a mere relative worth. So it is actually true. Question three, true or false? The first version of Kant's categorical imperative says that I should always do what makes me the most happy. That is false. Kant's moral philosophy is not about happiness, first of all. And I think no respectable moral philosophy ever says do what makes you happy, merely. In any case, Kant's first categorical imperative, or the first version of his categorical imperative, says that whatever you do, your maxim of action, your rule of action, should be capable of serving as a law for everyone. That has nothing to do with happiness. Question four, true or false? Utilitarianism says that I should always do what makes me the most happy. That is also false. Utilitarianism says, or classical utilitarianism says, you should always do what produces the most amount of happiness in general. More or less is the directive. So it's not a selfish, egotistical moral philosophy. It is one that demands that you put your own happiness at the same level as everyone else's and not privilege your own happiness. Question five. Utilitarianism suggests that I should always do what maximizes the total amount of happiness in the world. That's the idea. That's true. Question six, which is now we're into beyond true and false. Explain why Kant's rules are called categorical imperatives. There's two words there, and they both need to be defined in the context. First is imperative. An imperative is an order or a command, a rule, a do this or don't do that. And to say that it's categorical is to say that it's exceptionless and unconditional. No ifs, no maybes. So a categorical imperative would be a rule or command that must be followed in every case without exception. Question seven, explain why utilitarianism is a form of consequentialism. If consequentialism is the wider idea, then utilitarianism is a species of, a subset of consequentialism. Consequentialism says that the moral value of any act depends upon its consequences. Utilitarianism says that the moral value of any act depends upon the happiness or unhappiness it produces. So it is a form of consequentialism insofar as it says the particular result of the effects on happiness are what matter. So it makes it a form of consequentialism. Finally, question A, explain why the distinction between persons and things is a key aspect of Kant's second categorical imperative. It's actually key, absolutely key. That everything or every being, everything that exists in the world is either a thing or a person. And things have no moral standing. Things have no intrinsic worth and therefore can be used for whatever purposes we want without any kind of ethical danger. A person is of an entirely different sort of being because it has intrinsic worth and needs to be treated with respect because it has moral standing because of its very nature being a rational creature. It has intrinsic worth or dignity, which the object or the thing doesn't. So this division between things and persons and the different rules that apply when you're dealing with a thing rather than a person is really, really key. So that's what I had in mind. I hope that the introductory materials put you in a position to answer these basic questions. If you have any questions about this, if you didn't do well on the quiz and you would like some more clarification, feel free to contact me.